You're listening to Short Inspirations from Ralph. Patience, a very powerful virtue. Part 2. As we've mentioned, patience is a very powerful commodity. I once read about a very successful Japanese company, and they interviewed the CEO, the top guy, and they asked him if he had a long-term goal. And he said yes. And they said, well, how long is that goal? He said 250 years. The questioner then said, what will it take to get there? And the man said, patience. And it's true that patience will get you to places that impatience will not. This is so true in top-level rugby. We've had the World Cup recently, and many times the commentators mention a team that's being patient in their build-up. That team is consistently going through the things they've been training in and are not worried at that point about the score. And as an All Black fan, I have seen times when they have been impatient, and that's led to mistakes and led to loss of the game. The writer of Proverbs writes about this in Proverbs 14:29, when he says, patience leads to abundant understanding, but impatience leads to stupid mistakes. So is it possible that impatience could ruin everything that you've been planning for? And often Scripture and the Lord is our teacher with patience. I read some years ago of a missionary who didn't receive her monthly check or monthly support on which she totally relied on. At the time she was actually seriously ill, and because of no money coming in, had to live on just oatmeal and canned milk, and that's all she could get hold of. After 30 days, her money did come in, and then later on when she was on furlough, she mentioned her illness to a doctor, and she described the intestinal digestive trouble she'd been having. And the doctor said, if your check had arrived on time and you'd been eating your current diet, you would now be dead, because the best treatment for your illness was a 30-day oatmeal diet. Amazing. You know, when we're talking about patience, we're talking about the need to deal with lots of other things that oppose that or try to get you to act too quickly. Things like fear, panic, even a lack of faith. In that scripture I quoted last time, Psalm 40 verse 1, when David says, I waited patiently for the Lord and he eventually listened to my cry. It actually says in verse 2 and 3, he stooped down to lift me out of danger from the desolate pit or the miry clay that I was in, out of the muddy mess I had fallen into. Now he's lifted me up into a firm, secure place and steadied me while I walk along his ascending path. A new song for a new day rises up in me every time I think about how he breaks through for me. Ecstatic praise pours out of my mouth until everyone hears how God has set me free. Many will see his miracles. They'll stand in awe of God and fall in love with him. And that all comes from this thing called patience. When I think about patience, I think of that ad, that cheese ad that was on TV a while ago, where a room is full of people waiting for a job interview in a cheese making factory. And everyone's looking at their watches because time is going on and the time for their interview is come and gone. And eventually people start to leave, and they leave in disgust because they don't want to wait. Until one person's left And they have got the job because they're willing to wait, because that's what it takes for a good cheese to be matured. I'll finish with this great verse, Psalm 37 verse 7. It says, "Quiet your heart in His presence and pray. Keep hope alive as you long for God to come through for you. And don't think for a moment that the wicked in their prosperity are better off than you." God bless you.